always lovely to see people waiting and chatting. And we can see Arunji up there saying good morning, and Joanne Saldana saying, hey, hey, funkies. So looking forward to this bazaar. Well, actually, I say that every time, and we love it when you say it every time. And we hope that you're going to continue to say it every time, joining us, every single bazaar that you can. Lavanya NK, you say this is so cool. And Divya Menon, good morning to you from all of us. This is just such a happy Saturday morning. It's Children's Day tomorrow, the 14th of November, and we're delighted to present a bazaar with children as change makers being the theme of our book selection today. I mean, we have forever thanked all the adults, thanked the parents, the teachers, the librarians who come to watch us at the book bazaar, all the support that we get from adults here, there, everywhere. But the raison d'etre of us doing what we do is because of all those wonderful children out there who are reading or who want to start reading. And this Children's Day goes out to all of them, all those lovely readers out there and wannabe readers and going to be readers who keep us going and keep us motivated to do what we do. So we said, one of the things that we sort of were thinking of, and as adults, often we make many decisions. We do things that influence the course of the lives of children around us, of our own children. And do we pause to think that they are perfectly capable of making up their minds as well, really, right? They are capable of doing things that absolutely determine the course of their lives as well, sometimes and oftentimes much, much better than we perhaps can do as adults ourselves. And that's why we felt we'd like to focus on books where children are the change makers. And these are real children. These are, there are real children, there are imaginary children in the books that we have selected, but each one of them portraying the child in the book as a change maker, as an empathetic leader, or an innovative problem solver, or a strong team player. And God knows we need this in our world today, right? We do need our children to take the world forward in better, brighter, more beautiful directions. And hence this bazaar of books, which gave us an opportunity, as always, to reinterpret the books in our own collection, looking at them through the change-making lens. Joanne says, oh, very cool graphics. Had to double check what I was drinking. Polite way of saying that, Joanne. The graphics were indeed, that's how long it has been since you've come to the bazaar. And Sham saying, now I'm curious, what did you really see? We all want to see what you saw. We all want to be drinking what you're drinking as well, Joanne Saldana. For all our friends who've joined us on Instagram today, thank you. We love the fact that so many of you watch us on Instagram these days. And, we would love to be able to integrate that stream, the Instagram stream, into our live stream as well. But, we are able to only have 2 live streams on our presentation. And hence, when it comes to the interview, the guest conversation of the day, we're not able to stream that live on Instagram. Do, at that point in time, try to see if you can join us on Funky Rainbow's Facebook page or on our YouTube channel, the Funky Rainbow channel, because our guest today is a change maker like no other. Sriram Iyer from Nalanda Way Foundation, not just a huge change maker himself, but someone who has empowered children to become change makers themselves. I mean, it is just spectacular that the work that Nalanda Way Foundation has done. And for all of you who are interested in this theme, I'm sure that conversation is going to be most absorbing. So do try to watch us, all our followers on Instagram, on Funky Rainbow's Facebook channel, or on our YouTube channel when we do the author conversation. I can see Bindya Parvani saying good morning, and Arunji saying good to see you're doing a session on children as change makers. We knew you'd love that theme, Arun. We love it as much. And Avyukt and Ameya saying, Auntie, today my Amuma, my grandmother, is also watching. We're utterly delighted. A big welcome to your Amuma. And we just love the fact that she's so supportive and watching with her grandchildren. I think it's so much of fun doing these things with your grandkids. As always, all the books that we're recommending and the ones that we can't recommend, we can barely pick 10, 12 of them, and we're running out of time even then. All of them up on our website, www.funkyrainbow.com. Please click on the tab that says Book Buzzaar. The drop-down menu has a season 1, season 2, season 3. Please click on season 3 and you'll be taken into, there'll be a link that says Children as Change Makers. The books that we're recommending today, plus many others, up up there for sale. If they interest you, do click and order from us. I'll start off. So what have we interpreted a change maker as, the meaning of a change maker as? We've seen that as someone who takes creative action to solve a problem. I mean, it could be a problem in your own community. It could be a social problem. It could be a little problem in your own family. And you know what? One of the things that we found in all the books is that when you have to be a change maker, what is really important is empathy. What is really important is thoughtfulness. What is really important is creativity. What is really important is to be collaborative. And that is exactly what these books, the characters in these books do. In one way or the other, solve a little problem, take an action that will benefit a larger group of people. And we know, for all of us, we know that books are one of the, they are like literally the stepping stone to building some of these traits, whether it's thoughtfulness, whether it's empathy, whether it's creativity, whether it's collaboration. Books really just paving the way. And we can't say this enough. We have, that make sure you read, make sure your children read. That's perhaps the first step towards becoming a change maker. Bindya Parvani saying, very excited to meet the guest today. Very interesting topic today. Thank you so much. This is to celebrate Children's Day. And there are little surprises that will come up in between. I'm not going to say any more, but when the surprises come up, you will watch yourselves. Let me, without further ado, start off with the first book that I have, as part of the Children as Change Makers Buzzaar. And that is a brand new one that's come to us from Tulika, put together by Tulika and WWF, Ammu's Bottle Boat. What a charming book this one is, about a little girl called Ammu who makes a plastic bottle boat. And what does she do with her plastic bottle boat? She lets it bob off on the sea. And you know what? When she lets it bob off on the sea, she has no idea what dangers she has set adrift. This one, written by Nivedita Subramaniam and illustrated by Aindri Chakrabarti, is such a beautiful, gentle, lovely book, about the fact that this act of casual carelessness, it's just, so many of us do it. You just throw a plastic bottle off somewhere, not finding the right bin to dispose of, or crush some paper and chuck it somewhere. But you know what? Every single thing that we do destroys our environment. Every single polluting thing that we drop here, there, everywhere, carelessly, completely destroys our natural world. Now, what happens? So, of course, it's a little story in rhyme. And in the course of that rhyme, Ammu gets to see what happens. Ammu gets to realize what happens when her her plastic bottle boat sets sailing on the ocean? Does she know that it could end up in the belly of a whale? Do you think, does she know that a fish or a seal could eat it up and it could perhaps be their last meal? How does Ammu discover this? And I've just got to say, these stunning illustrations. Oindri has actually used the Japanese art style called gyotaku, which I found so lovely. Gyotaku is a Japanese style that uses fish scales to make imprints on the paper. Now, she has actually used objects of modern trash, like, she has used these objects to make those prints on the on the pages. And I think it's just, she's used bottle caps and she's used bubble wrap, and you can see that right through this spectacular book. How does little Amu become a change maker? You've got to read this book to find out. It's such a lovely book about being the change that you want to see. And, the first step towards that being, awareness, being aware of the problem that, your action has caused. It's a lovely book. We'd recommend it for 4+ year olds, and it's priced at 195 rupees. Do check our site. Some of the books are up on wonderful discounts, so do consider picking it up if you think the theme interests you. We move on from there to another book, which, when it came onto our shelves, I think I rolled my eyes up and down, thinking of whether it's going to be a nice one or not. And that's just me being a snob in some ways, really. But this one is Karan Johar's The Big Thoughts of Little Love. Literally got to say that I didn't really think it might be a book that would work very well. But you know what? It's the story of two children, a pair of twins. There's Love and his twin sister, Kusha. And you know what? They have the same colored hair. They have the same colored eyes. And I absolutely love this spread where they say they're as tall as each other, even their poo-poo looks the same. All right. And these kids, look at the way Priya Kurian has illustrated these spreads. It's just utterly delightful. But what is different between the two of them? Well, when so many things are similar because they are twins, they like the same thing. They like green colored gems. They like to swing in the jhula in the park. They love TV. They love chocolate. And they just love many, many same things. But Love is a boy and Kusha is a girl. And one day, when they decide to enact a scene where the two of them get into dresses, and Love gives a sword to, they're enacting a scene from the Ramayana, and Love gives a sword to Kusha. The both of them get into dresses, and you can see that spread. Dad comes and tells Love, "Don't be silly. Boys don't wear dresses." Right? And Love is, how can Kusha wear a dress and still fight, and I can't wear a dress and fight? Similarly, when they are swinging one day in the park, and, Love just decides to let go of the swing. And you can see that, and he goes flying up and crashing down, very similar to somebody we know at our office who did exactly the same thing. How many years ago, I'm not going to say, but it's the one and only Grey-Stroke who just decided that he could take off. One fine morning, his parents and him leave the house to go visit somebody. He's in a spanking new shirt, and he just decides he's got the wings to fly. And there he does, runs, takes off, flies, crash lands, tears the shirt, gets a couple of whacks. And the happy thing is, so many decades later, he still doesn't think that he can't fly. So you see, same thing with Love. And what happens is that his dadi picks him up and he says, "Don't cry, don't be silly. Boys don't cry. Boys are brave." And you know what Love thinks? He says, then how come Kusha can cry, but I can't? And these poignant questions get the adults thinking. We are so set in our ways, and we are just so happy to put things into proper brackets or into proper slots. And these children, the twins in the book, really making you think and really making this family change their thoughts about many things that we conventionally believed are true. In that manner, I've got to roll back my eyes and say, well, I should not have rolled my eyes when I heard that the book was written by Karan Johar. It is something that 2 to 5 year olds will absolutely enjoy. 2 years when you're reading it to them, and at 5 they can read it themselves. I can see Vijay Lakshmi Nagraj saying, hello team Funky Rainbow, sending you warm hugs on this rainy day. What a great theme. Thank you so much for joining us. And we do know that you're the grandmother of twins, and you absolutely perhaps agree with everything that we've said just now. So this one, published by Juggernaut, priced at 450 rupees and available at wonderful discounts on www.funkyrainbow.com. Our next book, and I just love it. I had a chance only to read it this week, although it had been with us even a week earlier, is this fantastic one by the actress Lupita Nyong'o. I don't know how many of you know, if you've seen some films that she's acted in, but this is her stunning. Sham reminds me, Black Panther. I carefully avoided saying which films, because Black Panther is the only film that I know that she's acted in. Not a movie watcher. I mean, not a movie buff at all, but the movie buff is, Sham, and he reminds me. 12 years as a slave, he says. Black Panther, he says, all the while my nose has just been in the book, but thank God somebody is watching the movies. Now, this one by Lupita Nyong'o and illustrated by Vashti Harrison is this, called Sulwe, is this gorgeous book about a little girl called Sulwe, who's the color of midnight. Just look at this lovely, gorgeous illustration. And what is it about midnight? I mean, she's the color of midnight, of course. But she's in a family, and I love the way this has been described. She's in a family where her mama was the color of dawn, her baba was the color of dusk, and Mitch, her sister, the color of high noon. Look at the pictures, look at that lovely description. So, you know what? When they go to school together, when Mitch and Midnight go to school together, nobody ever looks as Sulwe, sorry, not Midnight, Sulwe, who's the color of midnight. Nobody looks at Sulwe, nobody talks to Sulwe, and they are constantly referring to her sister as Sunshine, Ray, Beauty, and so many other names. Sulwe is really rather upset. Sorry. Sulwe is rather upset about this, of course. And while her sister makes lots of friends, she does want to make a lot of friends too. So one day, and the lovely things that she does, she gets an eraser first and rubs her skin to see if she'll become a notch fairer. Then she borrows her mama's makeup to see whether makeup can make her fairer. And then, when nothing works from the outside, she tries to do something from the inside. She eats the lightest and the brightest food. She's guzzling her milk. She's eating bananas. And just look at Vashti Harrison's wonderful illustrations. They are just spectacular. But nothing really works for Sulwe. So she goes, one day she just cries to her mama, and her mama says, oh my God, we named you Sulwe because Sulwe means star. You're the brightest star on our horizon. What does Sulwe do next? What does she do? She is a change maker. The thing is, for her, the change comes from within. You have to read this stunning book. And we do know that Lupita Nyong'o, also a great activist, a great change maker for the cause of black people and their rights, especially women, and the color, breaking the ceiling when it comes to color in Hollywood, and in different spheres of life. This is such a wonderful book, and I think many of us will empathize with it, because we know most of us are brown skinned. And a lot of children often wish they could be fair. Little Sulwe is such a stellar change maker. You've got to read this book to find out how she is the change, how she becomes the change that she wants to see. This one, published by Penguin Random House, priced at 699 rupees, but available. We have all our international books at a 15% discount on Funky Rainbow. So do check it out and do order away, if you think these themes work for your children. I'm going to move on to another book which I so utterly, utterly loved. And you can see that these are books of fiction. We've read them, we've interpreted them, we may have just read them as regular stories of children as protagonists. But when you look at them again, when you reread them, you know that some of these are definitely children who have made changes. We do have books where children grow as characters, but each one of these that we're recommending, those children have managed to make a change, for the betterment of a larger group of people. It may not be implied, you may not see those consequences at the end of the book, but it certainly is implied, and you can certainly tell your children that these children are change makers. So the next one is a lovely Hook book. And we know how popular the Hook books are. They just fly off our shelves. Boy Bear by Aditi Rao and illustrated by Aryama Somayaji is such a sweet book. It's about a little boy and his father, and his father is a madari, so a person who takes a bear out every day to show, for it to perform, on the streets, to perform, so that people come and watch, and they pay to watch the bear performing. Shubneet Kaur saying, the way you describe every book with infectious enthusiasm is simply wonderful. It's the books that give us this infectious enthusiasm, Shubneet. They are such wonderful books, many of them that lie undiscovered, and the whole attempt through our Buzzaar is to bring them to the notice of parents, teachers, children, librarians, so they may use them, with their kids, of whatever the reason, whatever the season. Lots of books that can match your reading requirements. Arun saying, I agree. But you guys are the best. You keep absolutely just egging us on, and we're just, we just love the fact that you're cheering us every single time. It's been 1.5 years of the Buzzaar, every Saturday since March 23rd, 2020. And look at all of you. You're here, you're watching, you're cheering us on. Why won't we be enthused about it? Your enthusiasm has rubbed off here on us. But to just come back to Boy Bear, so there is, the boy and the bear, and I do love the illustrations that Aryama Somayaji has made on this for this book. Now, what happens is that the bear, performs, and the boy, watches the bear performing. But one fine day, the baba, his baba, the boy is fond of his baba. He's really fond of the bear as well, and they are the closest of friends. But one day something happens to his baba, and his baba is not there with him. His baba is not going to be with him anymore after that. Now there's just the boy and the bear. What happens? So the boy, of course, wakes up one morning and takes, the bear again, for the bear to do different things. But every time he takes bear out like this, he sees the ring that's around his nose. He sees the clamps that are around his feet, and this and he knows that he depends on the bear for a living. I mean, in the nights when they're done and they come back and they and the boy is missing his baba, look who's comforting him. So obviously they have a wonderful, wonderful friendship going. And I can see Joanne saying, boy bear, gosh, this is a stellar book. There's something about Aditi Rao's writing that really touches me. Absolutely. There's Jerry Pinto's My Daddy and the Well, and Aditi Rao's book in this series that just moves you completely. And what does the boy do? He doesn't like that. He doesn't like the fact that his best friend has a ring around the nose and a clamp around his feet. What does the little boy do? What a remarkable change maker the little boy is. I'm not giving it away to you, but you possibly have already guessed what's going to happen. But what a wonderful change maker, a boy who decides that he is going to do something that perhaps the adults around him did not have the guts to do, did not have the will to do perhaps. But what a lovely story of friendship this is, and what a wonderful change maker the young boy in Aditi Rao's book is. This is part of Duckbill's fantastic hook book series. We recommend it for 5 to 7 year olds, but all these age groups that we prescribe, they are, you are better judges of what your children would like to read. This one is priced at 175 rupees. It's really got to be on each one of your shelves. My next book, do I have to say, maybe I can say hello to a bunch of people who've joined us. Let me just quickly say a round of hellos before I go on to more recommendations. Good morning to Book Loving Mum, Anupama, Reading Stars India, Christina Shauri, Dharani Lakshmi, The Books, Kritika Prasad, Winnie Jeet, Savi Karnel. How lovely to see you. Ashok Scape. Hooray. We are so, so, so happy to see you, my dear friend. So glad you've joined us in this bazaar of children as change makers. I know we've discussed this often back in those years when we were working on books and magazines together. Delighted that you're here, Ashok. And a big hug goes out to you from all your big fans at Funky Rainbow. To everyone saying yay and hello to you. Mandala, Praveen, Ruchavati, Binisha J, Children's Book Barn, Halfling Rogue, Dwa, Shona Santanam, Pari the Bookworm. That's done. Arunji, Joanne Saldana, Divya Menon, Avyukta Nameya, Lavanya NK, Bindya Parvani, Vijay Lakshmi Nagraj, Shubneet Kaur, Anita Venugopal, Viju Menon, and Satish Sundaram. So, so delighted to see all of you at our Children as Changemakers Bazaar. Sham, before we go on to our next recommendation, would we like to unleash one of the first surprises upon them? Please go ahead. There's a little surprise for you, and this bazaar is going to be interspersed with a clutch of videos, which I think you're all going to enjoy. Sham's going to play the first one of them for you just now. Let them watch the first one, and then he wants me to tell you what it is, but I'm like, take a watch, folks. And Ashok, if he's watching.
Hello, my name is Amya. I'm going to talk about my favorite book, Kulupati Gajapati. I like this book because it's a very cute elephant. He's very friendly and naughty. In this story, he loves jumping in muddy puddles. He's so dirty that he doesn't want to take a bath. He keeps running away and hiding. And finally, he goes and hides in a pond. Everybody was searching for him. They thought he was a rock in the pond. And But he Kulapati so much that he's just like me.
And there it is, a review. We asked a few children, and we're going to put this out as a campaign to all of you who are watching. We've asked a few children, Funky Rainbow fans they are, and they've been, absolutely doing reading with us and picking up books from us. But it's okay, children anywhere really, to review one of their favorite Indian children's books. And that was the wonderful Ameya, precocious and lovely 3-year-old, who reviewed her favorite book. And Ashok, if you're watching, it's Kulapati Gajapati, not the other way round. So we've got a bunch of reviews, 2, 3 of them. We would like to invite all the children watching or adults who are watching with, children as readers. We need you to send us videos under 2 minutes, the under 2 minute duration. And for the rest of the month, we'll run this campaign. I mean, we'll keep putting up these videos on our social media pages, of children reviewing their favorite Indian children's books. That was indeed a cuteness overload, as Jyoti Narayan says. Good morning, how lovely to see you. And Vijay Lakshmi wishing all the children, including Ameya, happy Children's Day to all the cuties. Preeti Ramchandran saying, adorable kid and adorable Gajapati. So, of course, we've got a couple of more coming up, but I'll recommend 1 or 2 books quickly, because look at the kids. What cuteness overload is there. No way us adults can match that cuteness overload at all. But just to go back to our and I can see that post that Shams put up saying, send your videos to funkyrainbowmail@gmail.com under 2 minutes. Please do ask them to review any one of their favorite Indian children's books and share it with us. We will keep putting it up on our social media. It's from our friends on Instagram, and those of you watching on Facebook, as well as on YouTube. Do send us the writers and illustrators of the book are always so happy to know that children are reading their books and what they have enjoyed about them. Our next recommendation is again a spectacular book from the Dreamers series. And there are many books in this Dreamers series, but we've picked The Girl Who Loved to Sing, Tijan Bai, written and illustrated by the one and only Lavanya Karthik. What a powerful story of change this one is. And Tijan Bai, both as a child and as an adult, being such an impactful change maker. Till we read this book, till we got the book on our shelves, we knew very, very little about her. And imagine a children's book opening your eyes to a musical prodigy and genius right in our midst. So who was Tijan Bai? She, was born in a little village near Bhilai, in the village of Ganiyari in Chhattisgarh, near Bhilai in Chhattisgarh. And her parents were Pardhi Bhil tribals. And, they had to work for a living. They wove reed mats to make a living. And when Tijan Bai was born, I mean, the response was that, okay, my God, we've barely got money to eat. Barely got money to feed ourselves. Who's going to feed a girl? Nothing to greet her. No happiness, no songs, nothing to celebrate the coming of a baby girl. And you can see Lavanya's delightful illustrations up here. What happens to Tijan, though? They think she's not going to survive, but she proves all the adults completely wrong. She grows, she thrives, and, becomes a strong girl. But what is strongest of all is her voice. She sings, and just look at these illustrations. I mean, what a delightfully illustrated short biography this is of a real life personality. And this one is a change maker like no other. She sings, and she sings with so much gusto, with so much verve. Now, what happens is that she hears one fine day, she hears her grandfather, Brijlal, recite the Pandwani. And you know what? A form of singing that is, like, it's a form of singing that is popular in the village of Ganyari, in and around Chhattisgarh. And she feels so thrilled. There's an electric current that passes through her body, because the stories of the princes and princesses from the Mahabharata, when her grandfather sings it, it just absolutely thrills her, and she decides she's going to be a Pandwani singer herself. But alas and alack, the family says this is ridiculous. Girls don't mingle with men in this village. Girls do not step outdoors after dark. And they just marry Tijan off when she's only 12, and, saying that this should teach her how to be silent. Does Tijan Bai remain silent? Absolutely not. Thank God for that. But you've got to read and find out how she becomes the change maker, but how she becomes a change maker, and how she is even today. She has won so many honors and awards: the Padma Shri, the Padma Vibhushan, the Sangeet Natak Academy Award, and the Fukuoka Prize. All this because because of the lovely word that Lavanya Karthik uses in her book, Pagalpana. She just decides to follow that Pagalpana of hers and become a change maker quite like no other. This Dreamer series, I mean, this book, The Girl Who Loved to Sing, such a wonderful edition, and what a powerful, change maker Tijan Bai is. Mutama tells me Divangi, very, very conversant in Hindi and Urdu, so giving me another beautiful word for Pagalpana, saying Divangi is just such a beautiful word to describe Tijan Bai's, spirit, basically. And this one, we'd recommend for 6+ year olds, priced at 199 rupees. Like I said, do check out our site. All of them are available at good discounts. My next book, before we do another little review, is this lovely one called One's Own But Different. And this one, published by Katha, is a book written by Meena Kakodkar and illustrated by Charuta Regunath. Is a beautiful book about a grandmother called Atibai. Now, this is the grandmother Atibai, who's utterly delighted, one day, because her granddaughter Banu comes to visit her. Now, Atibai, what is Atibai so excited about? Well, Banu is a complete chatterbox. She has loads of questions, and Banu is her daughter Sunanda's only child. Now, when Banu comes to visit Atibai, the first thing she tells her is, like many children ask their grandmother, is that, tell me some stories, tell me about your life when you were growing up. And I love that anecdote with which Atibai begins. She says, when I was just your age, I couldn't pronounce the word desk properly. I would say Dex. How many of us have done that, really, right? And Dex, Banu says, and breaks off into peals of laughter. And Atibai's mother says to her, apparently Atibai's mother said to her, that I will give you something only when you pronounce that word correctly. And so Banu says, what did you ask for? And Atibai says, well, I asked for those yellow and orange colored, sweet and sour, lemon, peppermint. And I was like, oh, I want those moon chocolates. I want those moon toffees, those moon peppermints, again, orange and yellow. But what is the story really about? As Atibai chats with Banu, there are so that makes her think about what is right, what is wrong. At the beginning of the story, that Atibai is quite critical about Banu's father. So you make some kind of impression of him, and how wonderfully Banu's questions dismantle those stereotypes. It's such a lovely book from Katha. And sometimes Katha's books just get tucked away inside our shelves, but when we visit and revisit them again. I mean, we would recommend this for slightly older kids. It's not heavily illustrated, but it's such little Banu, such a wonderful change maker, just in her own little milieu, one's own yet different, published by Katha, priced at 120 rupees. And Muttama, of course, wanting me to pose with the books, and I'm like watching the running clock. Sham, one more treat for our viewers.
Hello, I'm Guhan and I'm studying in first grade. I would like to thank Vidya Auntie and Team Funky Rainbow for this opportunity to share about my favorite books. We have been following the book bazaars for more than a year now, and I have found them very useful to build my library with Indian authors. Though I have many favorites, today I will talk about three of them. The first one is a series called Feather Tales by Deepak Dalal. It is about people and birds, and it's very nice. Not only are the stories gripping, I also got to know the various behaviors of the birds like eagles, falcons, flamingos, and paradise flycatchers. The next book is a funny one called Oi, Duckbill Platypus by Hatchet Publishers. It's about a group of animals who don't know what they're meant to sit on. A frog helps them find out. Here's a trolley. Here's a sample for you. Like dollies sit on trolleys. Finally, the third book, the author and cartoonist are on this call. Any guesses? The book is India A to Z. I gathered a lot of information on India from this book. Did you know that the Himalayas are alive and it moves 1 inch every year? I also have used it for school projects. Thanks once again, Vidya Auntie, and I look forward to hear more from Team FR. Thank you.
Yay! And you know what? We have to absolutely say a very, very happy birthday to young Guhan. When we called him yesterday, it was his birthday. And what a lovely thing it was for us and for him to connect with each other for the first time. All of them singing a very, very you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Guhan. Happy birthday to you. That's a nice group of donkeys, I'm sure, but the birthday wish comes to you from the bottom of our hearts. Thank you for that lovely review, Guhan. What a pleasure it was to see what your favorite books are. So we go back onto our list of recommendations, and I'm going to run through a few because I don't want to miss even a minute of our conversation with our guest who will join us a little later today at 12:30. Arun says, "I'm just curious. Did you find any books related to change make?" Did you? Sorry, one second. I'm just curious. Did you find any books related to change makers? When concerning books or libraries, of course we did. And one of our young change makers who's going to review a book a little shortly will introduce you to that book, Arunji. Definitely, I think the biggest change makers in our lives are definitely going to be readers. And you say this week onwards, 14th, it's National Library Week in India. Thank you for that information. How very lovely to know that. And we're so delighted that you've brought that to our attention. So, like I said, just wait and watch the next review that you read. I'm so glad the next review that you hear, I'm so glad that the child has picked a book connected to books and libraries. But the next one that I wanted to recommend, and it just so epitomizes the theme of our bazaar. This is Arun Gandhi's book, Be the Change. It's a grandfather Gandhi story. Arun Gandhi and Bethany Hegedus, illustrated by Ivan Turk. I mean, I think this book's just so wonderfully, and it's a pair of books. There's Grandfather Gandhi and Be the Change. Be the Change is the one that absolutely fits into our theme today. What are these stories about? Arun Gandhi, the grandson of Mahatma Gandhi himself, coming back from the US to live in Sabarmati with his grandfather, comes back with his family when he's a young boy to live with his grandfather at Sabarmati. In the first book, he's just overawed by his grandfather. Everybody's talking about him. He has a magnetic presence when he walks around here and there, and he has loads, thousands and thousands of people who listen to him, who follow his advice, who come seeking counsel from the Mahatma. So the boy is a little bit overwhelmed, and he makes friends with the other little children at Sabarmati. And one fine day, when they're all playing a game of football, he just kicks one child that he gets very angry with. And the first response to that is, how can you be violent? You are Gandhi's grandson. And he's like, oh my God, I just want to go back home right now. I want to go back to the US where I came from. But the grandfather steps in. And at the time that he's the grandfather, he's not the Mahatma. He's not anyone else. He's just Arun's grandfather. And the lovely advice that he gives his grandson, completely changing his life. We are such big fans of this beautifully illustrated book. It's a stunning portrait of one of India's greatest change makers, Mahatma Gandhi, but also how he was able to influence his own grandson, a child, to become a change maker. That's the first story. And in the second one, he has by now understood much about his grandfather and his life, and he knows that Gandhi doesn't like wasting in any way. But one day when he's walking back from somewhere, he has a teeny tiny pencil, and you can see that teeny tiny pencil on the cover. He says, this is just so little, I can't do anything with it, and chucks it in the field. And again, like I said, just look at the stunning illustrations in the book. He throws away the little pencil in the field. And when he goes to tell his grandfather about it, he says to him, even that waste is an act of violence. You have to read this wonderful series, this wonderful set of books to find out how it is. What does that mean? When you pollute your environment and you think you're just doing a small harmless thing, how can that lead to violence and to war? What a beautiful picture book, explaining big concepts in the simplest of ways for young readers. We'd recommend this for, say, even 6-7+ year olds, for all adults, definitely. And in this book is where Arun realizes that he comes to understand the truth of being the change that you wish to see in the world. Both wonderful books that should make their way into all school and home libraries, both priced at 499 rupees and available at wonderful discounts on Funky Rainbow. Really, both Mahatma Gandhi and the protagonist of this book, young Arun Gandhi, such brilliant change makers. I know we just have very little time, so I'm wondering whether I should run past one more set of books. Well, I can't ever choose them, and I wish somebody would choose them for me, but I think we absolutely shouldn't, be without recommending this wonderful book called Nida Finds a Way, which is a lovely whole book by Samina Mishra and illustrated by Priya Kurian. It's just, on the face of it, a story about a little girl who wants to do new things, little Nida who wants to do new things, but her abba is always very scared and says, no, 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 you can't do these things. But Nida wants to, she wants to learn to do new things. And when the story begins, she wants to learn to cycle. Now her dad's really scared. He's like, no, 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 look at how much traffic there's on the roads. And there's no way. Can't you see this traffic? There's simply no way that you can even cross the road, let alone cycle on it. So, what does Nida decide to do? How does she persuade her Abbu to let her do the things that she wants to do? Can she find a way? And why do we think Nida is a change maker? Because somewhere in the course of the story, she stumbles upon the protest, the CAA protests, the Shaheen Bagh protests. And you know what? Sometimes the solution to so many things comes to you when you see a lot of people collectively taking action to change something. Priya Kurian's stunning illustration, and I'm just going to try and find that page. We have only one part of it over here. And if I can't find it, I bookmarked it, but I can't find it just now. Although I do want to show it to you. Well, yes, I forgot the bookmark altogether. Priya Kurian's forgot to bookmark the bookmark. Priya Kurian's stunning illustrations of the women at Shaheen Bagh. How does that inspire Nida to be a change maker? How does that inspire Nida to find a way? How does that manage to get her to persuade her Abu? What lovely, so many wonderful lessons tucked away. Oh yes, and there it is. I'm sorry, I completely missed finding that page for you. What a lovely little change maker young Nida is. I mean, it's really one of our favorite books. We would recommend this for 7 years up, and this one's priced at 175 rupees, published by Duckbill. Sham, can we have the next one by, a child choosing his favorite book?
Hello everyone, my name is Devansh and I am going to tell you about a book that I really liked from Funky Rainbow. It is called Stone Eggs. It has beautiful illustrations of dinosaurs and amazing facts about them. There is also a map which shows where dinosaurs have been found in India. If you are a dino lover like me, this is another book which is perfect for children to read. It is called The Adventures of Padma and the Blue Dinosaur. It is a story about a girl who meets a blue dinosaur and lovingly calls him Blue Thingosaurus. Together, she, her grandmother, and a professor who she calls Rock Uncle, they must help Blue Thingosaurus unite with his family. Stone Eggs is perfect for readers 6 and above, and this book is perfect for readers 8 years and above. Happy reading, everyone!
Thank you for that lovely review, Devansh. And we love the fact that you actually styled yourself. I have lessons to take from you for the Buzzaar. You were wearing a dino t shirt while recommending the dino books. very lovely are you for doing that. Thank you for those lovely reviews of Stone Eggs and Padma and the Blue Dinosaur. And Jyoti Narayan saying dino recommendations, yay. And Divya saying, hi Devansh, so good to see you. I love the books you showed. It's just absolutely awesome. Yes, and really styling lessons with Joanne Saldana's always telling us about Devansh following it to the T, Joanne. Yeah, lovely line from Sham as always. Following it to the T-shirt. He says, not just the last T, but to the T-shirt. Anyway, the next clutch of books, and quickly running through a couple of them for older children. There is this, lovely set. One called Wonder Kids, 100 Children Who Grew Up to Be Champions of Change. This one done by Anu Kumar and published by Hachette India. A superb book, taking you through quick, lovely biographies of people who were change makers, who were change makers even when they were really young. So there's Ada Lovelace, there's Akira Kurosawa, there's Alan Turing, there's Alfred Hitchcock, but there are also the Indian change makers, Anandi Bai Joshi, APJ Abdul Kalam, Aruna Asaf Ali, George Washington. You can see Bhikaji Kama. What is really nice about the book is that the author Anu Kumar, she identifies that little spark, like a spark, a talent, a curiosity, or just a little dream that shapes these young shapes these historical personalities when they were young to become big champions of change. I mean, amazing achievers. I think this is a lovely book because she's not writing their biography notes. She is talking, for instance, when it comes to Hargobind Khorana, who won the Nobel Prize, about how he was educated as a young boy sitting under a tree. And what happens under the tree? What is that influence of nature that shapes his career as a Nobel Prize winning scientist? It's the book has such a shining message that you're never too young to start to be a change maker. We would recommend this for 10 plus year olds, and this one priced at 299 rupees, published by Hachette India. In exactly the same vein, another book which has actually been on our shelves for a really long time, but we never had the opportunity to pick it up and showcase it. This one called Change Starts Young, Stories of Inspiring Young Change Makers Just Like You, compiled by Ashwin Nayak and Yashveer Singh, was such a lovely book that we discovered. I mean, like I said, it's been on our shelves for so long, but when we were looking at it, it's a book about real change makers. It's about real kids around us. I mean, they have picked contemporary, the editors and the compilers of the book have picked contemporary children from the world around us, from different parts of India, who think differently about things, and they are bold and they go where other people don't, other children don't usually go. What I particularly love about this format, now for instance, let's take Pradeep, who's 15-year-old and from Madhya Pradesh, and to tell Arunji, there are some book champions up there in this book as well. Now Arunji, Pradeep absolutely is annoyed with the fact that the way to his school from home stinks because people are using the public roads as toilets. What does he decide to do? How does he decide to change it? How does he decide to become the change maker in his little village in Madhya Pradesh? And you can see after that profile, there are some wonderful questions that the authors and the editors have actually asked. Such meaningful questions that you and me and all the children who read the book can respond to. They make you reflect on Pradeep's story. Pradeep, the boy who decided to put an end to the stink that, that accompanied him on the way to school. and also asks you about how that change can be made in your own community. This format has been adopted for every young change maker, and I think it's really a game changer as far as this book is concerned. These are, all the change makers, perhaps 10, 11 plus year olds from different parts of the country, from Surat and Gujarat, from Punjab, from Maharashtra, from Madhya Pradesh. What a lovely introduction to many change makers whom we didn't know of ourselves. This one priced at 499 rupees, and published by Goya Publications. In the same vein, two wonderful books that have been with us, and we have recommended, I think, the first one in an earlier bazaar, which says, When I Grow Up, I Want to Be. Fantastic stories about real life Indians. And really, the book put together by the editors of Tweak India, for instance, absolutely taking you into the lives of real Indians who have made a phenomenal change to the place that they live in. Like the first story in this book is about the doctors who started a revolution from a small village, Dr. Rani and Abhay Bang. The man who started the world's largest beach cleanup, Afroz Shah. And all of these are stories of them as children who then go on to become big change makers in their community. This is an illustrated book. We'd recommend it for 10 plus year olds. And I think the one thing that the series does, shows you that heroes and heroines come in all shapes and sizes. We don't have to believe that only adults can make a change in the world. There's Shefali Verma, a little girl who breaks Sachin Tendulkar's record. Imagine breaking Sachin Tendulkar's cricketing record. Afroz Shah, who, like I said, leads the world's largest beach cleanup. All of these real life heroes who come in different shapes and sizes. Two books in the series. Actually, the second one even meant for slightly younger kids, because you can see that there are a lot more illustrations in it. So I think this one would work even for 9 plus year olds, and this one perhaps for 10 plus year olds. But these age groups always just in our heads, I think these stories are most inspiring. Both these books priced at 299 rupees and published by Juggernaut. And my final book before we have the last review is this excellent one that I have perennially recommended. In fact, we began our bazaar with Year of the Weeds. When we did our first bazaar in May 2020, I think one of the first books we recommended was Siddhartha Sharma's fantastic Year of the Weeds, which is such a powerful story of change. It is, set in Orissa in a Gond community. And the Gonds believe that their lands, there is a mining corporation who wants to take away the lands of the Gonds, including their sacred hill. Now, the hill is really sacred to the Gonds, and Korok, who is, the protagonist of this book, is a little gardener boy who, works in the house, who tends the plants in the house of the collector in this little Gond village in Orissa. Now, when the mining corporation wants to take away their land, the Gonds' land, what happens? The book gives our young readers a fantastic insight into the workings of democracy. There are corrupt policemen, there are corrupt ministers, but there are also people who want to make a change. There are also activists who want to help the Gonds keep their own land. And, I think our, readers, 12 plus year olds, should get an idea of the wheels within wheels of Indian democracy. What Siddharth has so wonderfully done in the book is to take a real life incident where the Gonds rose in protest against the giving away of their land to the mining corporation. And he makes two young people in the book, Korok and Anchita, who is the daughter of the district, of the IAS officer. He makes them the instruments of change. And we know that this was one of the only land rights cases where the Supreme Court actually, in the real world, said the mining corporation cannot have the land that belongs to the Gonds. It belongs to the tribals because they live there, and they've made their lives there. They nurture the land, and I think he's used that real life incident, and that case as a beautiful peg to show how children, two young children, teenagers in this case, were the change that all of us want to see. It's a spectacular book, and if you haven't read it, it's a must read for all 12 plus year olds and all adults. I can see Vijay Lakshmi Nagraj saying, I remember this book, Year of the Weeds is a superb one. It is absolutely a scintillating and riveting read, and rightly won the Neve Book Award 2019. Published by Duckbill, priced at 299 rupees. Lots of other changemaker books, but we will see one more review before we show you our 5 at 20 offer and our new arrivals, and then move to chatting with our guest of the day.
Hello everyone, my name is Avyut Nair and I am 9 years old. I really like Funky Rainbow because whenever I go there, I always end up finding a rare and a very special book. One recent book, Spaceship to the Universe by Shruti Rao and Anuradha Jagalur, has become a recent favorite because unlike other books, this book talks about a place where all the books are kept, a library. But can you imagine it? A library in unthinkable places. Like for example, a library on back of a donkey, or libraries in submarines. And it's not only restricted to Earth, libraries in space. This book has also inspired me to start a library of my own. But I have to sleep over. Where can I find a place where books have not yet reached? Thank you everyone, and a happy Children's Day to everybody.
Yay! Look at that lovely champion for change, Arunji. That's a book that you must get, Spaceship to the Universe. And I know Joanne Saldana is saying, oh, I'm going to start this book tomorrow, Avyuk, because it is library week. I only just received it earlier this week, and I am so thrilled that you read and chosen this one. Yes, Arun, so many champion librarians in this wonderful book, Spaceship to the Universe. Do get it for your library as well. It's a wonderful, wonderful read. Anita Venugopal, and of course, Joanne Saldana saying, would love to come and visit your library, Avyukt. I'm wondering whether he's going to let any of us borrow the books in his library. But I know that Avyukt is such a sweetheart that definitely all of us are going to find the most spectacular finds there. Anita Venugopal saying, so nice to see Avyukt. I will definitely get this book and read it. Look at that, change makers galore right in our midst. I will just quickly show you the books that we have at a 20% discount every week. It's something that we run called the 5 at 20 offer, 5 books at a 20% discount. And these are typically more expensive books. And, we just hope that the discount helps you pick it up. Arun is saying the book Buzzaar is going to make me a pauper. So many to buy. Welcome to the gang, sir. We run this Funky Rainbow ourselves, but we are completely paupers in our bank, but are very, very rich in books for sure. Vijay Lakshmi saying, Avyuk, here's to many more libraries and your special one. And Jyoti Narayan saying, Avyuk, I will definitely read this book. I love the way you spoke about it. You bet. We really think these children are the true inheritors of the book bazaar and will take it forward when we can't do it ourselves, or will join hands with us to spread the love of Indian children's books here, there, everywhere. So our 5 at 20 offer, and I'm quickly going to run through the books. There's Lemony Snicket, whom I've had the pleasure of meeting this absolutely brilliant and zany author, at an award ceremony. And I think any of his books will be laughs aplenty, plus a lot to think about as well. So Lemony Snicket with Poison for Breakfast up at our 5 at 20 discount. There's Gary Paulson's How to Train Your Dad. Mums, come on, please buy these books in large numbers, because we believe many dads certainly need to be trained. And Gary Paulson certainly, writing this hilarious book on how to train your dad, priced at 450 rupees. There is wonderful Anjali Roff. Yes, you spot that right, Joanne Saldana. A lovely chapter book that she has written. This is called The Great Food Bank Haste, written by Anjali Roff and illustrated by Eliza Paganelli. What a lovely chapter book. This is about a thief in town who is absolutely, planning a big food haste. You will, Arunji saying, I met Lemony Snicket at the Hindu Lit Fest. Me too. That's where I met him. He actually gave away the Hindu Young World Good Books Awards, for children's books, which, we worked on. And it was utterly, utterly delightful to meet Lemony Snicket. Anjali Roff writing a really rollicking, lovely book. And like you say, Joanne, she walks the talk, and she is a writer and a humanitarian in every way. This one, a wonderfully fun book about catching a bank robber, very different from, Anjali's other books, but an absolute delight. We do have The Sad Little Fact, written by Jonathan Winter and illustrated by Pete Oswald, which is just such a lovely book about a fact. You know what? Our lives are full of little facts, and this fact is particularly sad because nobody is using him, and he's just tucked away in a suitcase or a box. This one, is such a sweet book about a sad little fact. You have to read it to find out whether he becomes happy at the end. Priced at $4.99, but available at a 20% discount. And this fabulous graphic novel set in the World War called Mouse, written and illustrated by Art Spiegelman, who tells the story of his own father, who was, persecuted in the war. It's the stories of the Jews and the Nazis. The Jews are the mouse and the Nazis are the cats. And this is such a fantastic graphic novel about fantastic and, really moving Holocaust narrative, which is, impossible to describe unless and until you read it yourself. I'm not surprised that this is the only Pulitzer Prize winning comic in the world that exists to date. Mouse, just an absolute wonderful graphic novel that you all must read, meant for adults and maybe older readers. I mean, children who are 13 or 14 plus. Joanne Saldana saying Mouse is a must for every library. Avyuk saying you're most welcome, to all the people who complimented his review. And Preeti Ramchandran saying, Avyuk, awesome recommendation. I'm looking forward to your next update on the secret location where you're going to start your library. Till then, we have to only order from FR. I think Avyuk and us will collaborate and start the library. Very quickly, the new arrivals, those were the 5 at 20. Each one of these books up at 20% discount on our website, www.funkyrainbow.com. And in our new arrivals list, which I'll again just run through because some of these books we haven't read yet. Shama, you're going to put up the new arrivals. Okay. Okay, he's welcoming our guest Sriram in, but while he does that, we can just
Yes, I don't have the books.
okay. Sham is sleeping on the job, folks, so if you have to, just write to him. Two lovely books from Katha, Millions of Cats by Wanda Garg and illustrated by Bosky Jain, an old folktale, so charmingly done, and Nono and Plink Plunk, Quests and Questions, two lovely picture books from Katha, new on our shelves. two wonderful ones from Speaking Tiger as well. Last night I saw A Dream, which is written by Rabindranath Tagore and translated by Sudeshna Shom Ghosh, the editor at Speaking Tiger, and illustrated by Adrija Ghosh. This one I read and it was utterly and absolutely delightful. And What Do You Want to Be When You Grow Up by the one and only Jerry Pinto, illustrated by Ashok Rajagopalan. Two lovely picture book arrivals from Speaking Tiger. There is Julia Donaldson's The Teeny Weeny Genie, the author of Gruffalo, with a lovely new picture book called The Teeny Weeny Genie, published by Macmillan UK. And this one, which I just love for all you Winnie the Pooh fans out there. Once There Was a Bear, tales of before it all began. So prequels are not just for Batman and Superman and Spider-Man. Even Winnie the Pooh has a backstory. And this is such a lovely chapter book that tells you the before the Winnie, what happened before story of Winnie the Pooh and his friend Christopher Robin. It's such a charming, lovely book that has come into our collection. And there's My Wisdom book, Everyday Shlokas, Mantras, Bhajans, and more by Swami Mukundananda, which is split into two parts: bhajans, slokas for younger, for junior kids, and bhajans and slokas for older kids. Swami Mukundananda, I'm given to believe, is a global spiritual leader, who graduated from two renowned institutes, IIT Delhi and IIM Calcutta, gave up all of that at the age of 23 to dedicate himself to the spiritual and holistic betterment of all humankind. So a book from him for younger readers, which we haven't, for readers in two age groups, which we haven't read yet. But those were our new arrivals, folks. Do check our site, www.funkyrainbow.com. The books that we recommended in the bazaar and the ones that we couldn't speak of in the course of the bazaar. And there are at least 60, 70 books put up in the bazaar. Click on the tab Book Bazaar, click on the tab that says Season 3. You will go to a link that says Children as Change Makers. You can look at all those books and pick the ones that suit your requirements. You can also connect with us on WhatsApp at 99004 95665 for personalized recommendations for every reading requirement. I want to say, for all our friends on Instagram, thank you so much for being with us right through. We're going to move to our conversation with our guest speaker of the day, and we can't stream that off Instagram. So do try to join us on Facebook or on Funky Rainbow's YouTube channel, because this one promises to be a really wonderful conversation with Sriram Iyer of Nalanda Way Foundation, who I hear is already here, and Sham's going to bring him in on screen any minute. Instagram, you can. Yeah. Good afternoon, Sriram. How lovely to see you here this morning. Thank you for joining us.
Hey Vidya, thank you for inviting me. So good to be here.
It's so many people waiting to see you, actually. So you're the star of this show, the big change maker in our lives, also facilitating many children to be change makers themselves. Folks, for all of you watching, Sriram has such an impressive bio that I could spend half an hour just giving you that bio, but I'm going to quickly It is true. He is a writer, storyteller, and a social entrepreneur, and the founder of an award-winning NGO, Nalanda Way Foundation, which helps disadvantaged children realize their dreams through the power of arts. That itself is such a powerful description of what Sriram does, and the different programs that Nalanda Way Foundation conducts to help children achieve their potential. He was named by the Outlook Business magazine as one of the top 50 social entrepreneurs in India and has received numerous awards, including the World Bank's Development Marketplace Award, Architect of the Future by the Waldsell Institute, Vienna, and the Millennium Award by FICCI and USAID. He is a key partner to the Singapore International Foundation for the Global Arts for Good Fellowship, which brings in writers, artists, educators, and art managers to collaborate on social good projects. Sri Ram is an Ashoka Fellow, member of the Delhi government's Education Reform Committee, member of the Global Collective at UNESCO MGIEP, member of the Subcommittee for Education and Employment at CII, and a member of the Advisory Committee of the Dakshin Chitra Museum in Chennai. Folks, like I told you, these descriptors of Sri Ram can take up an entire hour. But really, a big, big, big welcome to one of our dearest change maker friends. The reason we're here is because we worked with Sri Ram many, many years ago to create some collateral and content for some children's programs that he was running, and have been so deeply influenced by what he did. Welcome again, Sri Ram, and it's a pleasure that you're joining us this at our book bazaar today.
Thank you, Vidya.
So I can see many people saying, Vijay Lakshmi Nagraj saying, hello, Sri Ram. I'm very impressed with your work. It's just amazing. Arunji saying, good to meet you, Sri Ram, from the FR channel. All of them saying hello to you. But tell us, Sri Ram, and we know this because we worked with you. Archana Atri is saying, how lovely to see you here, Archana. She runs a wonderful book club, for children in Delhi. And she says, for you, sir, 24 hours must fall short for everything that you do.
Too much.
Yeah, absolutely. But this morning, I saw a wonderful post that he put out, and I WhatsApped him to say, it is a huge a project that they've set off in Srinagar, right? Isn't that, Sriram, a project, to help children in Srinagar? And he said that the only thing that he had to do in this project was to steer it sitting from a distance and not get involved hands-on. And he said he felt like a petulant parent whose children didn't don't need them anymore. And I texted him saying, it's such a good feeling to be that useless parent, isn't it? Which means there's that much of work that's gone in behind for all those years, Sri Ram. And that's why you can be in a sulk, but the work is going to go on for sure.
I'm a grateful parent. For sure.
Lovely. So I want to ask you, Sri Ram, and we know this story because we've had the chance to interact and work with you. It was a child who got you thinking about becoming a change maker, isn't it? Why don't you tell us that story, Sri Ram?
That's right. So this is way back in 2005. And I mean, I had a bit of a moment of reckoning a couple of years before to that, being quite disillusioned about the world, about generally understanding fear and the kind of stress and anxieties as children grow up through school and homes, and especially in the case of very disadvantaged children. Um, and then how other social obstacles like caste and religion play an important part in building those divisions and increasing those fears as we grow up. But it's still a very intellectual exercise in my own head. I was not able to touch and feel anything. I was not sure what I had to do. I was in no place to begin an NGO at that point in time. I was still working at a tech job, moving around the world. Happy with my job. I was not disillusioned, but disillusioned with my own finding a purpose for sure. It's around that same time, I think it was around 8 o'clock. I was at a development center in my previous job in Chennai at that point. 8 o'clock, a disaster with an Australian customer. And in walks a little boy into my cabin and says, do you want to buy agarbattis? He was around 12 or 13 at that point in time. I used to have sinus at that point. And so I said, okay, my first question was, how did he get inside? I mean, it's a typical tech company with access cards and security. How did he get into my cabin? And when I saw him, he was a boy who was carrying a backpack, neatly oiled hair. He didn't have footwear. So he was coming in from a place 15, 16 kilometers away. He was coming there. And I asked him, where are you coming in from? What is your background? And he wasn't begging at all. He was just making a living. And at 8 o'clock in the evening, what was he doing? So he goes to school during the day. His mother and sisters make those agarbattis and soaps. And after school, he goes to different parts of Chennai to sell his soaps and agarbattis to make a living and to feed his family too. Now, here was a child who was willing to do the hard work, who was who's wanted to do it the right way, and also support his own family at the age of 13. Now, perhaps what is maybe missing for this child is mentorship, perhaps some anchoring, someone to hold his hand and also guide his way. And if that was possible for that child, and if we can offer that in a much more joyful, happy, and a nurturing way, then all of these children will find a way in the world. That was my eureka moment. The next day, I quit my job. And you know what,
Oh.
Vidya? It took me 4 more years to find that boy again. His name is Vinod,
Ah.
and I couldn't find him after that incident in 2005, and it took 4 more years to connect to him again.
But you did.
Yeah, I did. I did.
What a wonderful story that really is. Sometimes, like the most unexpected thing that triggers, these feelings in you, and the fact I admire the fact that you quit your job the very next day. That takes a lot of guts, really, and that boy really a change maker in your life, Sriram. But tell us, I mean, you quit and then you work towards setting up the Nalanda Way Foundation. So tell our audiences a bit about the foundation and what you do specifically, of using music, theater, media, and film to inspire learning in less privileged children.
Yeah. So we're now 15 years old. So we're adolescent, the painful one. So today at Nalanda Way, we do three things. One is look at holistic education, which looks at important transitional stages in a disadvantaged child. So which is age 3 to 6, age 10, and age 14. So at these stages, it's very, very important for children from very poor and vulnerable groups to gain that holistic education for their age. And if they don't gain that at that age, that they have the risk of dropping out of education and accessing further opportunities. So we look at those three specific age groups and provide them entire rounded holistic education to them. The second thing that we do is teaching them arts itself. We believe that every child, irrespective of economic or other social obstacles, need to have an immersive experience in the art, because today art and extensive research in brain science have been demonstrated that experience of the art very early on in life, as young as 2 and above, is very, very important for cognitive development. It's very, very important for the frontal cortex to develop, which controls your social behavior, your confidence, your interpersonal skills. So we want to ensure that every child has access to any form of art. And but we also provide the opportunity for children to learn the arts. When I say arts, it's visual and performing arts in a much more structured way if I show the promise and the discipline to do that. The third thing that we do is to specifically focus on adolescent mental health and well-being, and which is a huge challenge today, given an excessive suicide rates that are going in, and with the pandemic, its mental health and well-being has become a huge challenge already. So in all of these three important buckets of ours, we use arts as the method of delivering these programs. So it becomes joyful, it is non-violent, it is not prescriptive, it is not didactic, and it's joyful. So this is our approach. And we
That is
work
just
with most of the country now. So we work in Kashmir, in Jharkhand, in Bihar, in Delhi, in Karnataka, in Kerala, and in Tamil Nadu.
Wow, wow. From 2005 to 2021, that's like a real, they are giant leaps that have been taken because of that one small step back then, Sriram.
Yeah.
I know, we've had we've heard the Nalanda Way Children's Choir, and hearing them just sort of strikes a chord of such harmony in our hearts. I mean, music has just amazingly transformed the children from some of the most disadvantaged communities into children who are part of a world class choir. How did you achieve this change? I mean, and tell us a bit about the Nalanda Way Children's Choir.
Thank you. Yeah, so we have choirs now in two cities. One is in Delhi and one in Chennai. And Chennai began first. Bangalore is coming very soon.
Oh, nice.
Yes, and 2015 we began the Chennai choir. I think I was motivated when I had gone to the Jaipur Lit Fest the year
Ah.
before, and I saw the Chicago Children's Choir perform there, and I was so inspired, and I said, okay, why not we create that for our children? And I was also troubled by this whole Indian Idol business and super singer business, where it became super competitive, non-exclusionary, and not at all inclusive. And also, can we create a inclusive choir, inclusive of disability, inclusive and coming in and opportunities for the children who do not have that, and to the belief that if children have the opportunity, the mentorship and the training, any child could shine. So that was the whole philosophy. And so today, our choirs have at least 10 to 15% of them who are visually challenged or children on the autistic spectrum. Um, and the same is the case with our Delhi Children's Choir. One of the pride moment, and these children perform around the world today. And one of the most really proud moment for me in 2018 is when the Chennai choir performed at the very prestigious John F. Kennedy Center in Washington D.C. for 3,000 audience, and the only children's group from anywhere in the world. So rest were all adult choir groups. So that was really a pride moment for us. Yeah.
So Sriram's, shared this lovely clip of the children's choir singing. It's a 7 or 8 minute performance, I think, at the moment, and we're going to play it for you because it's just so lovely. Take a listen, folks. I can see so many people commenting. All of you watching the bazaar is going to slip by an extra 10 minutes, I'm sure. Please watch because it's absolutely going to be worth what you see. Cham, can we have the video of the children's choir singing at the Kennedy Center? दक्षिण क्यों ना आशे कब एक चलो रे যদি তোর দক্ষিণে কেউ না আসে কবে একটা চলো রে তবে একটা চলো একটা চলো একটা চলো একটা চলো তবে একটা চলো একটা চলো একটা চলো একটা চলো যদি তোর দক্ষিণে কেউ না আসে তবে একটা চলো রে বাসা 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 নি দা পা 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 নি পানি পানি দা পা পা গা নি পানি দা পানি দা বাসা নি দা পা মা গা নি মা 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 পা 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 নি দা সা নি দা পা মা গা নি সা রে গা রে গা রে সা রে গা রে গা রে সা রে গা রে গা রে সা যদি কেউ কথা না কয় ওরে ওরে ও বাধা কেউ কথা না কয় যদি সময় থাকে মুখ ফিরায়ে সবাই করে বল তবে পরের কুলে হতোই মুখ ফুটে তোর মনের কথা একটা বলো তবে পরের কুলে হতোই মুখ ফুটে তোর মনের কথা একটা বলো রে যদি তোর দক্ষিণে কেউ না আসে তবে একটা চলো রে তবে একটা চলো একটা চলো একটা চলো একটা চলো রে তবে একটা চলো একটা চলো একটা চলো একটা চলো রে যদি তোর দক্ষিণে কেউ না আসে তবে একটা চলো রে বাসা 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 নি দা পা মা পা নি পানি পানি দা পা মা গা নি পানি দা পানি দা বাসা নি দা পা মা গা নি সা মা 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 পা নি দা সা নি দা পা মা গা নি সা রে গা রে গা রে সা রে গা রে গা রে সা রে গা রে গা রে সা So good to see that all over again. You must be so proud. I mean, how many people have posted comments up there? Goosebumps, delightful, proud people. We have, a few viewers watching from Chennai, and they're like, they are from Chennai. Folks, Nalanda Way Foundation, check out their website, and you will see all the wonderful work that they're doing. They do have a donations page. Do consider supporting the fantastic work that they do. So many compliments coming up for you, but you must have been so proud of this. Sriram, and I this time noticed that little girl in the front who you mentioned yesterday. You should tell our viewers about it.
She is Anjali. Her name is Anjali, and she's on the autistic spectrum. And so the child joined our program 2 years before she came to join us for Washington D.C. And before that program, she would not attend school. She was not interested in studies. She would not remember anything. She's extremely sensitive, so she can't be around very loud voices or people touching her. But as soon as she joined the program, slowly for 4 5 months, she wouldn't even speak to anybody. She wouldn't sing anything. Slowly started singing, and she can't read, but she would listen and by heart the songs. And slowly she started singing. And I still remember the first time she started singing 5 songs together because she was singing in a choir. And this is something children with disabilities should be encouraged to attend choirs because it provides them a supportive space for them to make mistakes and to be trusted. I still remember she for the first time she came onto a stage for the Madras Week at the Hyatt Residency in Chennai, and she was on the stage and she's singing the song. Her mother is in the front row. Every time between a break between 2 songs, she would call out to her mom and say, "Amma, look at me. Amma, look at me." That's all she could say. And you could see the mother's eye tearing up. And it's that confidence that she's saying that I am counted. I can do this. It gives me goosebumps every time I say this story.
Yeah. I can well imagine it gives us
Yeah,
goosebumps listening to it, really, Sriram. And
yeah.
you said at Washington she didn't want to sing, right?
Yeah, yeah, and she performed all through rehearsals, and so before the final performance, she goes on stage and decides not to sing. And the curator of the show in Kennedy Center, and we were worried, anxious. Okay, what's going to happen? And she said, it doesn't matter. If she doesn't want to sing, she doesn't have to sing. And that choice and that agency, I think I'm very proud that we have that our children have, that they can choose whatever they want and they will not be judged.
So wonderful to even hear these stories. I can imagine that experience of working with children. In fact, that was what my next question was leading up to. Like, the arts, they really help children express themselves, they help them discover themselves, they nurture a sense of self-worth, and help them find a place in this world. Tell us, how does this shape them to become change makers eventually, Sriram? Tell us how that happens.
I want to share a story of this boy. His name is Sam. Sam, uh, we found him. He comes from a very very poor family outside of Krishnagiri, which is very not very far from Bangalore, in Tamil Nadu. And he comes from a family who were basically shepherders, and they had like two cows and some sheep, and that's all he could do. And when he did go to government school, but he wasn't very quite interested in studies. But he was an expressive storyteller when we found him. So he was part of a filmmaking crew.
Mhm.
At the age of 13 and 14, he joined our children's media team in Krishnagiri, and he would be part of that, making films, short films, photographs, whole lot of that. And he became so popular in the whole direction team that he was part of a lot of these films were shown across both in the state as well as in government circles and things like that. And finally, he was selected to represent India in Rome as a part of G20, and he goes to the legislature of at the in the on the seat of the mayor of Rome,
Okay.
and he is part of deliberating discussions around what it means to be a child of the world. But what is more important is that the confidence that it provided to them, the way it has made them more confident, more expressive, be more reflective of the situations that children come from. Today, he's important editor and a filmmaker in Bangalore. But
Wow.
besides that, he continuously is invested on the issue of water in our villages, in our societies, and he makes documentaries on the situation of water. And he is the person who puts up many RTIs on questioning governments
Wow.
and politicians on RTIs. So he's truly a change maker that I'm very very proud of, from where he was to what he's become.
Wow.
And
Wow.
it's just a sample of what art can do, and confidence can do to children, and that you can be trusted.
Yeah, such an important word, that the trust that you can do things to make. I mean, the trust that somebody is there with you and that you can discover your potential and make a change. I mean, nothing reflects it better than the work that you really do, Sriram. I mean, it moves us to see, to hear these stories, and we would love to have Sam join us at the bazaar one day to open our eyes to the different things that he has done. It's just wonderful to hear these stories of change, really. I know, in the course of our conversations across the years and even recently, you've always you've told us that you're an avid reader and a big movie buff. Tell us about one or two. I mean, for us, the connections are with books, always, always. Anything and everything, for us begins with a book, like you do with the arts. For us, it is reading, which is of course a part of the whole thing. Tell us, about some of your favorite reads, maybe one or two of them, and why this sustains you, why reading books and watching movies sustains you.
I think personally, I mean, I've learned the world and understood what it is to be who I am through books and movies more than any college or university. I think um, um, books and movies have
Here,
been my
here.
inspiration. Yeah. Vidya, I did the job. I did the plug-in properly, isn't it?
Yes, come on, one Funky Rainbow ad just now. Like, okay, at the moment.
So, but I mean, jokes apart, I think it's. I mean, today, especially in the last 3 4 years, I think my consumption of books. I think it's a book a week now. So it's truly
Fantastic.
transformative, and now thankfully I've also gotten into audiobooks. So when I'm running, I can still listen to it, and I'm driving, I can listen to it. So makes it for a variety. Yeah, it's been a fascinating journey. I should talk to you about this recent book that I'm actually reading at the moment. It's called What Elephants Know. It's
Oh,
a children's book. It's a book that I picked up in Valparai on one day. I decided I need to just escape, and I picked it up in a thrift store somewhere there. And it's a fascinating book about set in Nepal and all in the wild, and elephants and parakeets and monkeys and everything else. And this little boy, Nepalese boy, who's friends with an elephant called Devi, and both of them discover the forest together. It's a fascinating book, and it's lots of and it gives you lots of empathy towards understanding wildlife and what it is to nurture wildlife and learn from what it's just fascinating. Yeah.
it's just lovely. I'm so glad you quoted a children's book. Look at that, really, right? I mean, we're plugging for Funky Rainbow again, but that's what we see. Everything in the world is contained in these books. And I can see
Yeah.
many, actually, Joanne Saldana, who's a library educator based in Madras, she has put down such a lovely comment. She says, it would be wonderful to put your stories down in a book. Come on, write it, Sriram. We're here for you. We'll help edit and we'll help publish the book. Definitely, you've got to write these stories. And there's, various comments, people saying, amazing initiative, awe inspiring to see this. Thank you. Archana Atri saying, it's so rewarding. Arunji saying, wonderful stories to listen to. Vijay Lakshmi Nagraj, such positive stories. Fantastic to hear these stories of change, and really lots and lots of compliments coming your way.
Thank
I'm
you
going
so
to
much,
ask
everyone.
you, before we have a little surprise up for you, of course, and before we unleash that surprise on you, let me use
Oops.
the word quote unquote. I want to say most people watching us are parents, teachers, and librarians, and some children watching us today as well. Tell us what us adults can do to inspire children to become change makers. Some simple tips, because I think that's what we need in India. We need leaders, we need problem solvers, we need team players, and I think you've managed to achieve that. So tell us, our parents, what they can do.
I have a very, very simple trick, and a trick that works and it's simple. It's seva. Get your children to volunteer. Get your children to do simple acts of kindness on an everyday basis. And what I find it, and I'll tell you why I'm telling you this, it's not just from a point of helping another. When I help, I find a purpose to myself. When I help, I get a dopamine shot and makes me feel good about myself. When I feel good about myself, I am less restless. When I feel good about myself, I tend to share that joy with another person. When I feel good about myself, I have very less mental health challenges. And today we see that very young children having issues of depression, issues, and it's all coming from the lack of relevance and how education is no more making meaning to them, and how we have all the privileges of all that money can give, parents can give, but still we just don't find purpose.
Absolutely.
Providing for someone less privileged gives you that meaning to your life. And children should experience seva very early on in life. So as parents, my request is create opportunities for them to do something for another, and trust me, it works wonders.
Yeah. The word that you used itself, I'm so glad that doesn't even have an English equivalent,
Yeah,
seva.
yeah,
Absolutely, like, right. And Joanne saying, fantastic advice, Sri Ram. So true. We grew up always offering help, but we haven't necessarily brought our children up this way. What a,
yeah.
what a good recognition of the fact that how it has changed even in one generation. Lavanya NK saying it, this is so, so true. And Arunji saying, I agree without a doubt, the experience itself is enriching. Archana Atri said, very well said, seva bhav. Yeah, so I don't think there's an English equivalent to the word seva. What a spectacular word of advice for us adults, and to do for our children. Shubneet Kaur saying, absolutely second it. Vijay Lakshmi Nagraj saying, I can relate to what you say, Sri Ram, because I too believe in this. It's such wonderful advice. Thank you so much for saying these things, but we don't let you go so easily. Sunila Kulkarni Gupta is saying, Seva, so true. Thank you for saying that. Thank you for reminding us of it. I have a pesky relative who wants to speak to you for sure. And
Oh,
I'm afraid I'm going to unleash this pesky relative upon you just for a bit.
okay. Hello,
Namaskar.
hello.
I am Kengeri Hanumanta from the Kengeri village.
Hello, Mr.
When I'm
Hanmanta.
seeing, then I'm seeing your programs with the music and all that. Very nice, very nice. It was very good. But I have asked two questions to you. Please to answer, Mr. Sriram. So then the children are singing in very many languages. So how many languages they can sing the songs in when they
At
are
this
going?
moment, at this moment, they can sing in 13 languages and three are non-Indian
Oh,
languages.
13 languages. That is so many languages. Then one more question, sir. That is when they are singing, so we are learn in our village. I am retired from Panchayat now. I am learn that we are used seven notes, like sa and ga and some all kinds of seven notes there. Do these children also uses the seven notes, or they are using half notes, like the in the village when we take bus, we are get the half ticket, like that, you are there no use half note or full note?
Okay, I am not technically qualified in music to answer this question. So I'm quite as clueless as you. So I sit in the audience and enjoy the music. My music teachers do that better.
Oh, okay, very good, very good. Then you're saying you're setting up more of these choirs. Then you're coming in Bangalore. When is coming Bangalore? Very proud moments.
Yes, and Bangalore was supposed to have begun last year, but due to the pandemic, it got delayed. So
Oh.
we will begin very soon in Jan Feb.
Oh, I am looking forward to it, sir. Very good news, very good news. Mr. Sriram, very, very thank you. I will give now the dayas back to the editrama. Thank you
Thank,
very much.
thank you, Mr.
I will see
Hanumanta.
you. Bye.
These pesky relatives, I tell you, but I have to say, Kengeri Hanumantarao is one of my favorite relatives for sure. You have to
With
know
a
that
staple,
there's
the mustache.
you have to know that there is a character in a children's book called Sringeri Srinivasa Rao, and he's distantly related to Sringeri Srinivasa Rao and to all of us at Funky Rainbow. But he insisted that he had these musically related questions, so he asked them. But thank you so much for joining us today, Sriram. To all of you watching, Please do check out the Nalanda Way Foundation website. And if you think you'd like to donate to them, that would just be a wonderful way of supporting what Sri Ram and his fantastic team at Nalanda Way Foundation are doing. Thank you so much for joining us today, Sri Ram. It's been an absolute pleasure. We look forward to that visit to Bangalore soon, and we really would be glad to meet the different children, from your programs who have now become wonderful change makers in their own right. Thank you. It's been very, very inspiring speaking to you.
Thank you, Vidya, for inviting me. I truly enjoyed it. A lot of moments from the past, which you seem to forget in the busyness of everyday things. And thanks for helping me recount them. And thank you, Sham, for your impersonation. And
Kengeri Hanumantarao, no impersonation there.
I don't know what he's talking about.
And thank you for your lovely audience and their really, really enthusiastic comments.
Many of them posting comments. Joanne saying, "Thank you, Team Funky Rainbow, for bringing us guests who open our minds in so many ways, just like the wonderful books you recommend." Sunila saying, "Thank you so much, Sri Ram. Such a great session." Archana saying, "Very enlightening and heartwarming session. Sri Ram, Vidya, and the Funkies." Divya Menon, "One must surely meet Kengeri Hanumantarao in person. He's a riot. She has that experience. Her children have visited Funky Rainbow and stumbled upon Kengeri Hanumantarao, who was strolling amongst our shelves." Vijay Lakshmi Nagraj saying, "A special compliment to you from General Nagraj, her husband." He says, "The bazaars are superb. Thank you so much for this." Sunila saying, "Thank you so much, Team FR. Thank you for this lovely conversation. Sri Ram, it's been such a pleasure. And we must look to see what we can do with books and children. I said this to you. We've got books in all the Indian languages, and we've got books at all reading levels. We would love to work with the Nalanda Way Foundation in some way to spread the joy of reading amongst children. We're very, very happy to do this, with you for sure. Thank you so much for being here today."
Thank you again. Thank you for inviting me again.
Bye.
Bye.
To all our guests, thank you so much for that outstanding support. I'm just quickly going to say thank you to so many of you who joined in later: Jyoti Narayanan, Preeti Ramachandran, Neha Jain, Archana Atri, Sunila Gupte, Deepthi Karnad, Durga Tamdam, Apurva B. Ashok. What a pleasure that you were here at the Bazaar. So many of you watching us on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Instagram. You really make the Bazaars what they are. And with that wonderful piece of advice from Sri Ram about what we need to do to make our children change makers. Seva is the word. Let that be the leitmotif for this weekend. Let us think about it, and let us facilitate a world full of young change makers. The books on our list will certainly help you on that journey. So do consider picking them up from Funky Rainbow if you think they suit your interests. I know, Arunji, you asked us you asked a question, and it's gone so far up in the chat, but please do connect with Sri Ram on and any of the social media channels. Tell him you watched him at the Book Bazaar, and do ask him the question. I'm sure he will respond to you. Thank you so much, all of you, and have a wonderful weekend. To all the children who presented reviews, thank you so much. You are the change makers in our world, and a very, very happy Children's Day to all of you and all the adults in your lives. We'll see you next week with another Bazaar. Till then, bye-bye.